Okay, here we go. Steve here, Ranger Kit Car Guy. I want to talk about this. Robbie the Robot's on the camera, we're on air. 1975 Ranger Kit Car. I know it doesn't look like a kit car. It's not a Lamborghini or a GT40 or a Lotus 7 Rep or a Cobra. But this is what we did in the 70s. Took a car that was the end of its life and turned it into something else. And boy, I've had some fun with this thing over the last 48 years. Anyway, get back to the story. 1974 I left school. Started my engineering apprenticeship and I wanted to build a car ready for my 17th birthday. I really wanted a Mini Marcus, but I couldn't afford one, so I dropped on this based on the 1100, 1300 ADO 16 stuff. I liked it. Built out of tubular steel chassis and glass fibre panels which were easily modified. It still had the wheel at each corner and it was wider than a Mini, so the track was very good. Anyway, spent £405 on this in 1975, and what did I get for £405? I got the tubular steel chassis, I got a bonnet, I got a bulkhead, I got two sides, I got a back and I got an inner tub, and that was it. I did spend the extra on the hardtop, and for the hardtop I got the hardtop, two doors and a back door and some glass. I say glass because they were in trouble then. I ended up with glass one side and perspex the other. But hey ho, that's another story. So I put it together. It's not bad. It was designed by a guy, or the concept was by a guy called Eric Salmon and a guy called John Gallo, but put it together. The biggest problem with it really was that I think they were rushing to get stuff out. I mean, at £405 it wasn't cheap. You know, I was earning 15 quid a week then, and I had to borrow the money. To put it into perspective, a brand new 1100 at the end of its production run 2 years before was just under 900 quid, and this was £405. I didn't know any of my mates had spent that sort of money. Anyway, I set about it. So, the kit arrived in April 75, and me and my mate, Jazz, we started putting it together. I was already turned 17 by then, so I was a bit behind schedule. I'll run through some of what's happened in as we get to it, but the basic thing was, the first bit you fit was the bulkhead, and it didn't fit. Didn't fit at all. The inner pan you put in, and that didn't fit very well either. And the windscreen surround, the tubular steel that went round here, was capped over. Barely had a bit of metal on the end to weld. It was welded to, so I had to cut that and straighten that first. Got the bulkhead fitted, got the inside put in. So it didn't fit very well. The outer panels here, guess what? They didn't fit very well either. Lack of trimming really. The real problem I think with everything was premature ejection. Now I know it sounds something like it should be in a Carry-On film. Oh matron, premature ejection. No, I think they took them out of the moulds too quick, and they hadn't set, and they just went all over the place. But hey ho. They hadn't been trimmed very well. They'd been over trimmed in places. When you put the sides on, there wasn't sufficient to get to the bottom. The back didn't fit. There was a big gap between the back and the sides. The bonnet didn't fit. It split constantly here. Two big rubber bungees that used to hold it on. And the idea was it hinged on the front. Forget all this bit You can't even see it probably. Hold on. Whoop! There he goes. Gets a bit of a noddy on. There's Robbie. Yeah, here we go. Look, see? It came across here before. And the basic idea was there was a bit of bar across the front. And you had two long bolts in the subframe. And they went through this thing and it tilted forward. Sort of. It tilted forward, but it never fitted. Anyway, we bolted it together, as they said, and used it. It took everything, you know, straight off the car. Never modified anything to start it off with. And I kind of used it on the road. It was awful. The wind used to come in through the doors. The rain used to come in everywhere. Thing used to fill up with water. It was pretty grim, to be honest. Because you know I spent so much money on it. It was pretty grim. Yeah, it was pretty grim. But still had a lot of fun in it. Roof came off. And when we when we were trying to put it together, the roof had two bolts preset into it that were meant to hit a crossbar on the top of the bulkhead here on the windscreen surround. The bolts were in different places. They were different bolts, and when you put them through the holes or in that top rail, the roof sat on the edge. It didn't overlap the front, it actually sat on the edge and overlapped the back by about 20 or 30 mil. So it took a long while. I can't remember, it might have been the secondary body I'd done on it that I changed the roof eventually and got it right, but it still don't fit right. I still don't like it. So there's a few things I'm going to do. Final go. So the doors, yeah. Come on, Robbie, this way. Keep up. The doors. Wrong side. There we go. That's a door, folks. Didn't have this on it, just had a straight edge. The bottom didn't even match here. It's pretty grim. Don't know whether you can see that or not, but so I've done some more work to it over the years. Anyway, okay, so we put it together. I ran it for a while. It was bloody awful to drive. I could never get the suspension working right. People don't know, 1100 had hydroelastic suspension. Basically, fluid in pistons running between the front and the back on each side. And something hit here, it pushed down there, basically. Problem was this weighed about 400 kilos. The car, the donor car, weighed more than double that, just under 900 kilos. So I couldn't get the suspension to work right. I tried it low pressure, I tried it high pressure, I mucked about with the washers and everything. I tried it, and in the end I just ran it absolutely pumped up solid. It was like a go-kart. It handled brilliantly, I loved it, but it sat too high. It was fine. You were fine driving, you know, sort of whizzing about here and there, but Robbie, just from floppy again. the air used to get underneath it and it used to skate about all over the place at any decent speed. And that's when I first grafted on the spoiler. Good boy, oh boy, what a difference that made. The air didn't get underneath it and it started handling better. That was one of the first things I did, but I was still running hydroelastic suspension then. I say still running hydroelastic suspension because in the end I kind of got fed up with that as well. And yeah, bonnets like this, don't like it anymore. It's alright while I was doing sprints and hill climbs and that, so I didn't have to have the lights connected. Steady, steady. I designed these little babies. Me and a mate made them up. Steel suspension, running in the same thing with a small shock absorber. Don't even know where I got them from. Inside. And I ran it solid. I loved it like this. It was brilliant. Front was easy to design. Back was a nightmare. And the piston laid sideways in the back, like that. It's easy to find things. I ran a couple of Honda 750 springs on the back, made it up on a modified subframe. Brilliant. Problem is, the shock absorber was never designed to work on its side, so it'd work for a little bit and then it'd jam either down or up. And every shock absorber I tried would not work sideways on. I changed the subframe no end of times to take different stuff. Could not get things to work. You could go and buy some fancy ones. That's all people do now, kit car boys. Go and buy something fancy. We didn't have anything fancy to buy. It just wasn't there. So what I did was I took the subframe out completely, built some towers in the back, ran shock absorbers vertically. Alrighty, so I'm going to make Robbie redundant for a minute and I'll give you a little look at this. You can't see it in there like that, can you? So, see if I can show you here. This might help. See? You see that? Where the little spring is. See? Put a new tower in, run the shocks like that. No rear subframe. Worked well, has worked well, worked well for years. Back's quite compliant. Can't really like that. So down, show you a bit of the front coil. Bit dusty, I'm afraid. It's been in storage for a while. So while we're out, it's out. It's gonna get its final run. Yeah, so I don't know whether I can run this suspension like this. The roads around here are absolutely atrocious. I mean, it was great before. I loved it. It was like driving a go-kart on the road. It's fantastic, but I think I can now. So I might have to do something with it. I don't know what I'm going to do. So let's see. A couple of other things I've done in the past, especially in competition. I But balance bar on the brakes. It is only the normal setup. 2 pedals come up through the thing, split onto a balance bar, angled to the right so we can get all 3 master cylinders in. But it works extremely well. Yeah, there's a balance bar comes off there and goes into the car, so you can balance the thing. But it is only still the standard 1100 pedal box. I've got a different plate on there because I brought the steering wheel up here. The standard steering wheel used to have some problems with it stripping at the bottom, right by the rack. Didn't like taking it, especially with the negative on the front. It wasn't good. But this works really well, really well. Quick release. I've run every dashboard they've got, every single one. Morris 1100s, 1300 GT is what I've got now. Yeah, I think somebody wanted to see it. It only fixes with a couple of self tappers at the top there, and then a couple of tabs on the bottom. I used to have this here. I used to have a quick shift on here with cables running down to a mini rod change. No, it was wicked, that was. Just a tiny little shifter there was. So running off of cables, you can still see a bit of the mechanism in there, look. Down to the rod, down to a rod change. Gearbox. Right, something else people would have noticed is the front rad. Mark III Escort. You used to go down the scrappy in them days and see what you could find. You know, it didn't really matter. The original one had 2 outlets here, the early ones. This one's got one either end. So I've had to come up with a new configuration for this. I don't like where it sits, I never have done. The front of the car has this step, you see, here. And the standard 1100 doesn't. It comes straight up here. In fact, the square grills, what I call the square grills, and Riley, Wolsey, and the ones like that, have a bit more space. Never really minded, but I don't know. I do something, try and get some more space in the front. Makes it blooming tight for the distributor and that. I used to have it. I've got a moulded vent that deflected it up through the top of the bonnet. Not very pretty, but it worked ever so well. Just ran a couple of motorbike fans on there. Really good, really effective. I redid the bulkhead. It didn't fit. So when I rebodied it, I think it was the second time, I split it and put the scallop in there so I could get my 1.5 inch Riley 1.5 carburetors on there. Oh, they're SUs, they were magic. All brass fittings, no steel on them. Lovely carbs. Run these on this, but I said you didn't really need to put anything else on. Didn't even have any of the lights connected up when I used to do that. But, I've got to do something about the bonnet. Can't be manhandling it on and off. I'm going to have to come up with something. I really would like it to hinge up from the front completely, like a new Mini does, and the whole lot come upwards. But that would involve putting a frame in that and coming up with some way of hinging it, which ain't no problem. It's just metal. It's just metal. We can do it. There you go. That's my little Ranger. That's a proper kit car, that is. Not fancy bits. proper recycling. That's how we used to do it. Right, so I'll try and post some more stuff up. We'll have a little think about what we're going to do. If you've got any ideas, give us a shout. It'd be nice if you subscribe to the channel. That'd be really good. By all means, comment. If you don't like it, I don't mind. It is what it is. Anything I do, I'll show on film from now on. I might not go about it other people like, but I go about it. There we go. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, here we go. Steve here, Ranger Kit Girl Guy. Robbie the Robot's on the camera and we're on air. Following the last video, we're going to now sort of try and tackle some of the things that I still don't think are right. And the first one we're going to do is the bonnet. Now the original bonnet used to hinge right down here in the side, using the front subframe mounting, and hinged forward, so it tipped on its nose, which was all right, but so everybody knows, anything that needs to be done on an A-series engine is at the front, and every time I wanted to work on it, I always ended up taking the bonnet off anyway. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and hinge it from here upwards so that the whole front comes up. Don't know where I can do it, but we're going to have a go anyway. There's also a couple of other little issues still with it. I'll just switch to the other camera. So one of the other issues, or a couple of the other issues, is this here. You can see the body line. It never lined up. Tight in the middle, and then the radius is never the same. So I'm going to do something about that. Bring that in closer. And also the other thing, and I've already done this once and it seems to have spread again, is I don't know whether you can see this when I press it down. It's hold it still. It won't sit down because it's touching the bodywork all down here. And it used to spread worse than this, and it used to split right across here on both sides all the time, because constantly the sides were being pulled out. I say I've done this once already, as you can see, and the other side seems to have held. See? So I'm going to have to I'll split that again and re-glass it again. And just reform that. I only ever used to have it with the pole pins, two on the front, two at the top. As I said, if it was not being used on the road, you could just take the whole front off if you just wanted to work on it. Didn't even have to have the lights working, they were just on there. These are in here because some rules dictate that the silhouette, you know, you can't have scoops in and things like that for air intakes. So I whacked a couple of knacker ducts in. Not many people know what the silhouette of this would look like, but it's pretty obvious that it didn't have a big bulge in the bonnet, or a big wing on the back or anything like that. I didn't mind so much about the front being low, but it was the rest of it that had to be the same. Anyway, we'll whip the bonnet off and have a look at that. So back with Robbie again. The idea is I've got these. They're Mercedes ML bonnet hinges. I tried to find something from a vehicle that had quite a large bonnet, and they're quite well made, the Mercedes ones, so they should be. And I think, I can get this in the picture, I think I can mount them here. I can come off the chassis with some new steel up here, tie it back in through here. I'll show that on the other camera in a second. Maybe put an additional one there to stop it from moving side to side, but I reckon they'll do it. Then it'll hinge up like that, probably with a couple of gas struts to push it up. I reckon that'll work. I'll have to remove, I've taken the radiator out at the moment and the struts that hold it. I'll have to move them, but I reckon if I come straight off of them, up an angle to support that, and then do it from the inside as well, and a couple of gas struts, and all I've got to do then is fit a frame inside the bonnet. I'll do it out of 20mm tube and then bond it to it. 2 mounting bricks excuse me, on there. That's the theory anyway. I'll just switch over to the other camera and then show you on the inside. Okay, from the inside then, the theory is that that's that piece of tube there that sits on the top rail. So it's so easy to find, and then I can just come off of here through the front panel to support it. I said, you know, with that tube being there, I can easily locate its position this side, pop a nice little hole through the bodywork and have the tube coming through. I'm not likely to ever take the bulkhead off again. That there is the cable clamps for the rod change that I had the quick shift on as part of the mechanism here, the support for it. See the quick shift that I used to run up here, which was wicked. Now the dashboard used to hold in, you had to screw the old windscreen vents in first, and then there was a bit of a glass fibre ridge running around the front here that the top of the dashboard sat on. And then using those two tabs there, no, I think I put those two tabs in. No, that looks like I've put them in. I've put them tabs in to support the dashboard, because all it did was had two little self tappers at each corner. Yeah, two little self tappers that went into this plastic glass fibre rib that ran round, and then of course it fits under there. Yeah, that's the plan anyway. I'm going to go through there. Okay, we better get started. Okay, so this is what we've come up with. So it's going to come off of here, up through the wall, down onto there, then the hinge hopefully will mount off a piece of plate on there. That's the theory anyway. I think we've got it right, because I know the radiator cap just misses the bonnet. So from the side on, I see where the hinge is going to fit in, and in the body. Okay, here we go. Steve, Ranger Kit Car Guy. Robbie's on the camera and we're on air. Last time I just finished this. This is the near side one. Taking it out so that I can duplicate it. Got a piece of steel. I'm only using scrap bits of steel. It's never going to be a show car, so we'll just copy this, the outline of this. I made this in different parts, but now I can. Now I've got something to copy. I'll mark it up and add this. We'll see how we get on. Okay, so what we're trying to do there is just put a little pie cut in. I've marked it on the edge where the bends should appear. So I put a little pie cut in there. That's what I'm doing at the moment. It's just getting that, get the angle right. Okay, that's the second one made. Now I've got to put the hole in. Right, well, we seem to have got that through okay. Same as that end. Just check it. See how it looks. Oh look, bubbles over to the left. But it's exactly the same. I did set it up sort of level, only to give me an indication, but that and that are the same. So I'm pleased with that. Okay, so we've finished the second one. It's good. Happy with that. I think I want to weld the plates on here before I weld them in place. Just make it a little bit easier, that's all. yeah, I haven't got the plate here. Some 3mm plate coming. I'm going to put on the sides here. They're going to mount the things off of. Anyway, that's where we're at the moment. I'd really like you to subscribe. That'd be nice. And part 3 coming up soon. Okay, here we go. Part 3. Steve here, Ranger Kit Car guy. Rob is not with me at the moment, but we are on air. Just looking at how I'm going to put the frame inside this. You can see the bonnet over the years has been fairly substantially modified. If you're wondering where the spoiler actually originated from, a long time ago, when I wore a much younger man's overalls, I worked for a guy called Malcolm Golden. He's a cracking guy. Took me on after I finished my apprenticeship. One of the little jobs we did was we fixed cars for Tom Walkinshaw Racing. They ran a county championship, BMWs 3 Series. Back then the 3 Series was very new. BMW were trying to promote it, and they basically one for each county. A local driver and a Pro-Am driver drove them on weekends. All the cars were identical and they were drawn out of a hat, and we used to have the unenviable task of putting them back together after a race weekend, bodywork wise, and they were smashed to smithereens. And there was a few of these spoilers about, you can see. I sectioned it in the middle and fitted it on. It was a trial really to see if it stopped that aero problem. You can also see here the original bonnet had 5 grills, sort of slots, but they were inset as well, which really took up even more space in the engine compartment. was already less because of that, and then these came in about like that, and I really wanted to put a front radiator in it, so they went, hence the two big openings. Now I've roughly marked out, you can see I found the centre line, and there, those there are the same width as the chassis rails, so we know we're going to be on that, and then the hinge is going to be to the side of it. So lacquer ducts are going to go, which I'm pretty certain they were going to go anyway. But the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the bonnet by 50mm, at least 50mm. So that's going to be interesting. So what I'm going to do now is lay out a frame inside this bonnet. See if we can. It's got a slight contour in it, only very small at the back end, quite a bit at the front. Let's see how we tackle that. Right, here we go. Okay, so I'll finish the frame. Of course it won't fit because it's 50mm longer than it needs to be. Fingers crossed. Because I'm going to stick 50mm in the bonnet. I've marked where I'm going to cut, and I've done it using a laser line. Just run the laser line across the bonnet, marked it in with a permanent marker, so I've got a nice straight cut. I'll mark it on the outside, give me some datum marks so that I know, you know, to line it up, but it should be fairly easy. Just going to chop 48 years worth of history up here. There we go. All I can say is, oops, what have I done? Oh dear, oh dear. Oh, there it is. Sliced, no going back now. Start doing the hinges now, see how it works. Okay, well, we've progressed a little bit since then. Just have a look. I've had to chop the bonnet considerably because it wraps around so far around here, comes down. Hinges like this were never designed to work like that, so I had to section it quite a bit. It's now all in the right position, extended in its extended position. Yeah, we'll see what we're doing with this in a little while. It'll come. It's only glass fibre and metal after all. Yeah. Just gonna Clayco it together and test it. Okay, well, here's the concept. Flip front. Now I've got to do is try and bond it all back together again. Hey, never mind. We'll get there. But yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way that's turned out. Yeah, quite pleased. Not looking too bad, that. Alright, a little update. This is where we're at so far. Off the frame. just about to be glassed in. Bonnet's extended, knacker ducts are sealed in, so time to glass the frame in. Here we go. Right, so as you can see, I've had to chop the bonnet quite a lot. Joints come out pretty good. It's now 50, at least 50mm longer, about 52mm actually. Knacker ducts are filled in. Just had a rough sand and a little spray over with some self etch, just to get it all the same colour. See what I'm doing. Now, the bits I've chopped off, I'm going to use to extend the bulkhead, and then have a new bonnet line across there. Yeah, so what we're trying to do now is line up these panels so I can create a new bulkhead line around here with the filling panels. They're going to extend this bulkhead out, then it'll have a recess along the front that the bonnet will really sit down onto. That's the plan anyway, so get on with it. Okay, here we go. Bit of an update. Been a little bit busy. but we're here again. A little update. We're on air and we have Milo and Atlas in the house. Although Atlas looks slightly disinterested. Milo is always interested, isn't you, Milo? Hey, yeah. Right, so where have we got to? I think I'll end up switching over to the other camera. Bring Robbie out, so we can see where we've got to and what we've done. So bear with me. We'll get the other camera up. Alright, here we go again. Still Milo and Atlas in the house, and need to update where we've got to. Let's have a look. Come on, Robbie. Okay. Sure whether you can see all this from there. But the basic thing is that we've now got a fully functional flip top front. Just like that. So I'll go through what I had to do. Yeah. Let's show you this. So first stage was to create some sort of mounting to take some hinges. These were Mercedes ML hinges that I bought second hand. I wanted some decent hinges that would take some weight because it's quite heavy. So to fabricate some brackets, also picked up on the inside there, let me see, on that side. That was the first stage. Then plate them, captive nuts. So I had a mounting for these. I'd set the height where I knew it needed to be. Then I built a frame. It's only roughly cast in at the moment. It's all got to be bodywork finish, but built a frame to support it. And bear with me, just take this out. I have got some gas shocks for this, but I don't want them in the way at the moment. So then, obviously, as the original bonnet came along this edge here and down, but of course hinges are not made to take that much of a radius. A small radius, but not much. So what I did was sliced it, created a new bulkhead either side. Again, it's only roughed at the moment, but it's pretty good. Got some gapping to sort out, but I'm pretty happy with the way it's turned out, considering I also added 50mm to the bonnet. Not that you'd be able to notice. Doesn't even show. 50mm to the bonnet. I've got the radiator outlet in properly now. Before it was just a, I can't remember where I put it actually, but I bet I've still got it around. Just a big glass fibre box that I Zeus fastened to the back of the radiator before, because the bonnet just lifted off. I could never have it on there properly. So that's going to be nice. And get some hot air out. Yeah, so we added 50mm to the bonnet. We've sliced it, diced it all over the place to create a new bulkhead. we go. So, got some gas nuts to fit. I know they'll take it. I've tested them already, and I've put on just some basic mounts. The radiator now sits obviously further forward, so I've got some basic radiator mounters in. I've got some bonnet stops in, so they support it. In the end, oh, and catch. Quite a monstrous looking catch on there. Good one for catching me bunts on later, I'm sure. But what I've gone for is this. It's a Ford Focus, I think. Electrical boot release latch. And that actually mounts there nicely. Look how nice how it mounts. And the catch for it now mounts on that. So it's going to have an electric release for the bonnet. I'm going to bring some bracing across here, obviously. Once I've got this fitted on, know where everything else, I'm going to bring some in so it ties into these radiator mounts and finishes this off a bit better, a bit more strength. But really, it's done. A lot of work, but it's only glass fibre and metal after all. But it'll make an amazing difference to working on it. So switch over. So, like I say, we're done as far as that. As far as the bonnet conversion is concerned, apart from body working, which I'm going to put in for others, and some of this work here. But I know I've got to do other work. You know, there's an all mount, all cooler's got to go in. I might put the battery back in the front. I used to run it in the back. I've got plans for that area coming up soon. So I'm going to stop with the bonnet stuff now and get on with something else that's been niggling at me for a little bit. Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I really am. It's come out well. So you can't even tell it's been extended. So I'm chuffed with that. And the bulkhead's not too bad. It's got to have some bit of finishing doing to it, but on the whole, we're good. We'll raise windscreen wiper. I don't know what to do, whether to go back to the other ones or not. I'm not worried about that at the moment. I say, I consider bonnet hinge fabrication complete. Please subscribe. It'd be really nice if you could. Even comment. I'd subscribe because next year we've got another project coming up. Hopefully, anyway. Hope he hangs on to it because I really want to have a go at it. We've got another one to build. But that'll be next year. This one's got to get finished again. Finished again. Hey. Right. Thanks a lot.